Hello, everybody. It's the two idiots back
Hello,
again.
everybody.
So the
Back
two idiots,
again.
yeah, back again, and we are back again after quite a few days. I've been kept busy with a lot of online sessions and webinars in the last few days. How about you? What's been keeping you busy?
I've been making the same invention which I sent you, and I'm very proud of this invention because, as I told you, these are all building blocks and atoms. So how can we join words and create wisdom by rearranging the words? That's all we have to do because the words are limited and problems are unlimited.
Yeah.
So I'm on my invention. I'm really proud of that. And I'm also proud of all the students who are actually enlightened by you because you've been giving a lot of training, I think, to a lot of students.
Yeah.
And with repetitive training of yours to them, I truly believe they are going to be much more wiser.
Thank you very much. It's just like, I'm just sharing my experiences and my perspective with them, and I hope it benefits them. But talking about your invention, when you shared it with me a few days back, it looks very, very interesting. As you said, these are atoms. And just like the world in which
Right.
we stay, this entire universe in which we stay is made up of atoms, right? And
Perfect.
there are these atoms of elements, and when they combine, they form things that are way beyond our imagination. In the same way, I think words and letters are also atoms that make up the literary world, and with just 26 letters and a few million words, the kind of
That's the point.
that's
Only
the point.
26.
Only 26 letters. And to come with a certain specific thing, like to come up with a certain kind of chemical, or to come up with
Seamless. I mean, just 0 to 9 numbers, and look at the numbers. They are infinite. How in the world sometimes I think like these are just 10 numbers, 0 to 9.
Yes.
And we can create almost endless possibilities of solutions. Why bother be depressed, stress about problems?
Why endless? And
Absolutely.
as I was saying, just 26 letters. And I mean, what wonders we have created, our human race has created in terms of poetry and literature. But as I was saying, to create a certain specific chemical, or to create a certain specific solution, or maybe some kind of vaccine, it takes a specially trained mind to mix these chemicals in a certain proportion, in a certain way, to come out with the result.
Perfect.
You
Ratio,
cannot just
proportion, quantity, balance,
and also the method.
Reaction.
Also the method.
Yeah.
You cannot just put these chemical ingredients in front of
Method.
anyone, and you cannot just put this.
It's a recipe. Absolutely correct. And the recipe can be right. It can be a world class, or it can miserably fail, but it's worth giving a try, exploring, having an expedition on, and experimenting.
It
I
can
truly believe we can.
It can be world class, or it can be third class. You cannot just you cannot put these ingredients in front of anyone and hope to come out with a suitable solution. But the same thing, I think, goes for letters and words. Everybody studies the same letters and same words, but how to put them together to create the right end product, and in terms of poetry or a mesmerizing piece of literature, it takes only a special mind to do that. So yeah, of course.
Super.
So and of course, this method that you have invented, I think it simplifies sentence construction, and we'll definitely discuss it in one of our future interactions. But today, what do you have for us? What questions do you have for us?
Yes. So my first question is going to be very, very repetitive with the nature of human beings, which is, I'll get straight to the question, which is, we all keep getting opportunities to eat, drink, live, breathe, select a product, service, solutions outside, make friends, make companions, make professionals, choose jobs, choose businesses to do from. It's endless. You know that it's an information age in which it's a product age in which we have endless options to choose from. The question is so simple. How, if we have selected something, a professional relationship, a business, or a job, and then immediately a day after, or a second after, a minute after, or something, you get one more option, one more opportunity, which is better, more branded, more best, suits you perfect, how to deal with it? Because now you have committed. Now it becomes an ethical question, ethical, moral question of self-respect, self-honor. So how to deal with it? Because something more profitable has come on the table, and you have already committed to something which is of less value, worth, or use. UVW, use, worth, value. Yeah. So how to say no to the thing in hand and go for the more profitable, more beneficiary, more valuable, more worthy, more useful thing which is coming in your life?
Okay,
Oh,
before I answer this question, let me ask you, this second offer or the second opportunity that you say that you've got, is it confirmed? If it is 100% confirmed, then I think you should carefully do an analysis as to what is more beneficial for you, and also where you will be able to give your best. Okay, it's a two-way thing. It should be more beneficial to you, and you should be able to give your best. And if on both these parameters, whichever offer fits best, I think you should go for that. See, it is like, you need to be a bit practical and a bit pragmatic when it comes to the professional world. uh, Ultimately, in the long run, a lot of your success and your happiness is going to depend on this, right? So if you feel out of
indeed.
these out of these two offers that you have in your hand, which one will make you more happy and more satisfied, right? And when I say satisfied,
Okay.
I don't mean only financial satisfaction. That of course is one part of it, but thinking long term, which is going to make you more satisfied, more happy, and give you more professional satisfaction, because only then you will be able to give your best. Okay, if you are not able to give your
Okay.
best, if you are not able to give your best, it doesn't really matter. Now, yes, you have already committed and given a firm yes in one place, but you haven't joined as yet, right? If you haven't joined as yet, I think you're
Yes, we
still,
haven't joined yet. We have
yeah.
not started executing and operating on it. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think if you still haven't joined, if you still haven't started working there, I think it's okay, to be, uh, as I said, once in a while, to be a bit selfish and to do a little bit of self-analysis. Because see, it's not just something that you're going to be doing for a few days or a few weeks or a few months. It's a lifelong thing. It's a profession. It's a major decision. And after carefully weighing both the offers on these two parameters, what is going to be best for me, where can I get the best, and where I can give my best. And on both these parameters, if whichever offer stands, I think you should go for it. I think that's the best way to do it.
Superb.
Yes, there is going to be a little bit of a bad blood, or there's going to be a little bit of a bad uh, image or an impression when you say no to the first offer, but that's okay. There is a way to do that. You can explain to them, you can put it across in a very cordial manner that, look, sorry, I know I'm doing this, but uh, I think in the long run, you will be happier. If And of course, if after weighing the offers on both the parameters, if you find that no, the first offer still feels the best, you know it's not a question of first offer or second offer. As I said, it should not be that. The parameter should be very simple. Where can you get the best, and where can you give the best? And I think on both these parameters, whatever offer stands, go for it, whether it's a first offer or the second offer. I think that's how you should go about it. That's my perspective.
Superb. Wonderful. So my take from this is calculate your self happiness rating, your self satisfaction rating. Will I
Yes.
be able to give my best, and will I be getting the best?
Yes.
Question and the shadow question.
Yes.
And I noted down CAP, which is like cap. Calculate all parameters. You have to calculate all the parameters before you jump into something. So
Yes.
you say, am I getting the best? Can I give my best?
Yes.
And then do I get happiness, satisfaction? What is the rating? How much will I get?
Yes.
So based on all these parameters, make an unbiased decision, right?
Yeah. See, there are several parameters. The two that I have told you are, of course, the most basic parameters.
Happiness, satisfaction.
Yes, happiness,
Right.
satisfaction. Can I get my best, and can I give the best? But then there is also, you mentioned the brand. So working for a big established brand vis-a-vis working for a small brand that is still in the growth phase. Now, these both things also have their own pros and cons. Working with a big established brand, there are certain standards that you're expected to meet and you're expected to live up to. Can I do that?
Correct.
And if you're working for a small brand, which is right now in the phase of growth, that will give you opportunities to put forward your ideas, to innovate, and to contribute to the growth. So again, see which of these two are you best suited for. Are you the kind of person who likes to maintain status quo and work as per set standards, or are you someone who also likes to innovate and come up with fresh ideas? That also is going to play a very important role. So again, it all comes back to self-awareness. Like so many of our earlier discussions, it comes back to awareness of the self. What kind of a person are you? Do you like to get into a place where there is already an established system and you just have to fit into that system and keep working, or do you like to innovate and create systems of your own? So that is also going to be a very important question that you need to ask yourself and go ahead with it.
Superb.
Yeah.
Great. So the two things which we also need to measure is self-awareness, and one more thing which I noted down is self-abilities. Will I
Yes.
be able to do it?
Yes.
Right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Self-awareness, self-abilities. Superb.
Yes.
So my second question to you is, a lot of people also succeed.
Yes.
Okay, in the race of winning, a lot of people succeed, but then after succeeding, they miserably fail because they're not used to, or they don't have the brain circuitry or the code or the mechanism to maintain success, because they have not seen the afterlife of success, the post effects of, or the after effects of success. So what happens is there is an immediate low after a big high. That means this is analogous to or similar to the case that if you're too happy, the next morning, the next minute or something, you bound to expect something horrible or terrible to happen to you, because you went so uphill. You have to come down. There is no more up of the mountain. The mountain ends there. So when a person wins or succeeds at a sphere of life, professional or personal, then there is nothing more to that relationship or business or personal.
Okay.
So there is an immediate low which comes, and it doesn't come gradually. Okay, that's the funny part. It doesn't come gradually. It comes immediately. How to deal with it?
See, let's understand one thing now. Let me try and be a bit philosophical here. Success and failure, highs and lows, these are a part of life. That's how life goes. It goes. Life is not like a straight line. It's ups and downs everywhere. So
correct.
And
correct.
After a low, there is bound to be a high. After a high, there is bound to be a low. The only time when these two things stop is when life itself stops. Right. So if you are mentally prepared for both, if you are mentally prepared to accept both and keep moving on, I think that you will be able to deal with it much more effectively.
Right.
You're on a high, you've got success, and then suddenly you stop getting success, and then you immediately come down. That should not affect your happiness or your self-worth. I think the whole gist of this question is, the reason why people get affected by this is because their self-worth and their self-esteem and their happiness is connected to this success or this failure. I think we need to get over that. Okay.
Correct.
There are so many cases which we have seen, of people who have tasted success and then gone down, and then people who have been in the dumps and they have done superb. But in all this,
right,
I would again say, see, as far as success and failure is concerned, high and low is concerned, there is nothing much we can do about it. Okay. As it says in the Bhagavad Gita, only your karma is in your hand. The results are not in your hand.
That's a wonderful statement. Yeah, that's very factual and true. Yeah,
and it's very practical also. You might try your best.
It's very practical. Yeah,
you might try your best and still not succeed. We all have been through that, right? And on the other hand, with little effort, you might get big success. We all have been through that also, right? But then I would not really, to answer this question, I will not really address the success and failure part of it, because that's not really in our hands most of the time. I would say your happiness, your self-esteem, and your peace of mind should not get attached to your success or your failure. You should be able to be happy and at peace in a mansion, and you should be able to keep that happiness and that peace in a small hut also, if I can put it that way.
Yes. So I think the wonderful word which we can create over here, or as we said with my invention, is double M, which is mind mansion. You need to have your mind mansion. Otherwise, if you have a mind hut, if you have a mind mansion and you are living in a hut, doesn't matter, because your mind is a mansion.
Yes.
Right. Because as you and I know, Bill Gates, every great person, they slept on the floors working hours and hours and hours, beyond 24 hours by 7, because their mind is constantly thinking about it. Bill Gates used to just get up to for his bodily needs. That's it. And he used to code, because I think that kind of intensity eventually pays off.
Yes.
Because the mind is having a mansion, it is thinking too big, it's thinking universal.
Exactly.
And there is no scope for anything little.
Exactly. And today, as a result of that, Bill Gates is reaping all the material benefits of his hard work. I'm sure tomorrow, if bad luck hits him and he has to go back to the same phase again, he will still be just as happy and just as contented with life. He'll keep doing, of course, he will get affected. I'm not saying that he will feel bad about it, but then he'll be able to bounce back like this, because he is in a mind mansion. The mansion is in his mind, and that's where he is living.
Super.
That's why he's been able to create it for himself in the real world also. So that's what I'm saying. Don't be so concerned with the success and failure. Of course they matter, but what really matters is how happy and how satisfied and how strong you are over here. Once this is addressed, I think everything else falls into place. So these things like, immediate success or immediate failure, immediate high or immediate low, these things are very superficial. What really matters is how strong and how happy you are over here and over here in your heart and your mind. And I think once you master that, everything falls into place.
Wonderful. So the very essence of bouncing back is there in human mind. And even the mansion is there, but the only thing is uncurtaining or revealing or just unveiling the thing, because the assets are there in the mind.
Yes.
The mind has everything. But if we forget that we have things, we'll never use. This is like you have your things at your home, but you buy it because you don't know you have it.
Yes. Yes, exactly. It is like, a treasure that we never know we had. You find on social media, you find so many of these posts, where a person has discovered an ancient treasure buried beneath his house, or somebody discovers some nice, old storage beneath his house where there is full of amazing artifacts. So it is like that. The most valuable and unexplored treasure in the world lies in our hearts and minds. We never explore that because we are so focused and oriented towards the outside. So once you discover that, I think highs and lows and success and failures are only superficial. Then you will be happy in a world of your own. And that's what really matters.
Right. All right. So we are going to come to my third and last question. All right. And this is related to momentum. So how to maintain momentum, which we use to solve a particular problem, to solve future problems? Because as we all know, it's not accelerating one time which will get your vehicle up. You have to keep on constantly ABC, accelerate, brake, and clutch. And that momentum has to be there. Otherwise, you're never going to reach to a destination. So similarly in life as well, it's not about one little victory or one big victory, but you have to continuously show it up, not for the sake of the world, but for the sake of your own worldly improvement, mindly improvement, and financial and personal improvement.
See,
momentum, how do you maintain it?
So you talked about momentum in solving problems. Now, believe me, every problem has a different solution. Okay. Two problems might look the same, but they both might be fundamentally different. Okay. So to maintain the momentum, you have to constantly have an open mind to every situation that comes in your life. Not only problem, let's not necessarily call them problems or crisis, but every situation that you face, you have to be open-minded. You have to face every situation with an open mind. And you might be facing a situation which you have faced 100 times before, but be open for the possibility that there might be just one factor different that will change the dynamics of the whole situation. So I think the maintaining momentum is all about in this particular case, it's all about keeping an open mind, being open to all possibilities, and making sure that you don't take any situation for granted, or you assume that, oh, I already know this. You may not know it. Okay. While I'm not saying that your past experience, your past experience definitely counts for a lot, and your past experience definitely is going to come in useful. But many people hit a roadblock because they think they know it all. And then suddenly they come up with one small thing that they haven't experienced in the past, and that is where they hit a roadblock. So I think the best way to do this is to keep your mind open to all possibilities. And even though you have faced a situation many times before, and your experience does count for a lot, and do bring it into play, but at the same time, be open that something or some factor or some person might not be something that you have encountered in the past. It is something new. Be open to new possibilities. So you bring to play your entire gamut of knowledge and common sense into it. The moment you say, I know it all, you're closing your mind, and that's where your momentum gets hindered. So it's all about being open to all possibilities and accepting all possibilities and moving ahead with that acceptance.
Right. So have an open mind, have a free mind, which is free from defective thinking that you know it all. Open mind, free mind. And third one is adaptive mind. You have to adapt to the situations, the roadblocks, the highs and lows of a road. Similarly, the roads of the life. Okay, this has happened right now. This person, this project, this work is coming, which I have not faced. I mean, it's like a road which you have not taken earlier on the highway. Somewhere you go and you're like, what am I going to do now? So being adaptive to that scenario, being free and open to explore the possibilities.
Yes. It is like a flowing river. If you have seen a river, a water that is flowing, it adapts to the landscape. It adapts to the landscape. Wherever there is open land,
absolutely correct. It adapts
very fast. Wherever there is open plain land, it flows very fast. When there is rocky and undulating land, it slows down, but it finds its way, goes through it. until finally it reaches destination. The river doesn't say, oh no, oh, this is the way I know to flow, keep flowing straight, and it will not go. It
Right.
will not reach the sea. Okay. So it's
Right.
be like water. You know, the great legend Bruce Lee said, be like water, my friend. You know, you put the water.
Exactly. I love that statement. Yeah.
You put the water into a cup, it becomes a cup. You put the water into a jug, it becomes a jug. So be like that. Be adaptive. Be constantly adaptive. That is how you maintain your momentum. You know, if you need to jump, jump. If you need to crawl, crawl. If you need to run, run. If you need to walk slowly, walk slowly. Okay, adapt yourself as per the situation. And in the end, I will say again, have an open mind to the possibility that each situation, no matter how familiar it looks, can be different. Not necessarily is different, can be different. Once you're open to this,
can be different, right?
There's
a possibility to it.
Yeah, there's a possibility to it. So your momentum of life keeps going this way, adapting.
Wonderful. I'll give you an example right now. So
yes.
I have engaged both of them right now.
Okay.
They are creating a game which I've told them. Oh. Yeah. So this is one example I'll tell you. So I maintain my momentum with you, with the thing which you are doing, plus even engaging them, not disappointing them, because even that time is valuable for me, and engaging them and harnessing their minds is very important, because they're creating a game right now, which is going to be useful for you and me too in the future.
Wonderful.
So it's employing all minds together, simultaneously operating without losing momentum is the key thing. By having an open mind, by having an adaptive mind, that okay, even thoughts can be kids, they can be very annoying and notorious. Problems can be annoying, and all problems come together. And but we have to have an open, adaptive, and free mind to say, okay, how can I roll this up? What I need to feed this problem so that it will keep running on itself. It's like a washing machine.
Exactly.
And you need to just give inputs and commands so that the problems will take care of themselves, and you can focus on the problem which needs you.
Perfect. You said it.
All right, wonderful. So my 3 questions are over. Any last thoughts and comments from you? Yeah.
Well, I'm just looking forward to whatever game you're creating with these 2 young minds over there. So hopefully, in the next session that we meet, I would like to discuss your invention that we discussed a few days back about
I would be more than happy, because let me tell you, in the best story example way, this is the retail sales of spare parts of the rocket of life.
Okay.
So I'm going to sell, not sell in the terms of money sales, but I'm going to tell people this is what it is. So simple. It is like salt, sugar, and spice. I'm telling you, these are the 3 atoms. You need it, boss. It's an undeniable truth. Even if you're enemy of mine or a friend of mine, you're going to need salt, sugar, and spice. There is no substitute for that.
Okay.
So these are atoms. Yeah, right. Absolutely. And we are creating the spare parts. Why? Because we know, we are aware, we are self-aware that every person's problems are different.
Yes.
Because the person is different. The problem can be same, but the person is different. And therefore the problem differs. Exactly. All right. So I would love to discuss it with you, because I would actually be exchanging, validating these inventions. My selfish intent is that validating this with a wise mind like yours. And second, I would love to share this wisdom with you, because this is truly a wisdom-oriented asset and a solution, which is creating spare parts of success, so that our students, our mentees, and our disciples of the entire universe of different professors, gurus, and great warriors could get the spare parts, go home, and just connect the spare parts. It's like a Lego game.
Yes.
And they will have fun playing with these words. And let's create a system in which we not only give the solution, but we give them spare parts, and they're free to create a building, a car, whatever.
This examples that you just gave of Lego game and ingredients, salt, sugar, and spice. So it's like again, what we discussed in the beginning of this session, that the same ingredients, salt, sugar, and spice, and a few other ingredients like vegetables or maybe chicken. You put them in front of people. Somebody comes up with the most, beautiful lip-smacking dish. Somebody comes up with an okay dish, and somebody creates a total disaster. Okay, so that is how life is like a Lego game. You need to put the right pieces together and create a life of your own, and don't copy what the other person is doing. Your life is your life. You choose your own pieces for the Lego game and create your life, and you
absolutely correct.
You'll create the most wonderful masterpiece. So that's what it is like. And
the best equalizer of life is that everybody gets same Lego blocks.
Exactly. Everybody gets the same set of Lego blocks to choose from. You don't have to necessarily choose every piece. Choose some, discard some. You might find that somebody created a beautiful, edifice or a beautiful life by choosing ABC. But ABC might not be necessary or applicable for you. You might be more
Absolutely correct.
You might be more comfortable with DEF. Choose that and go with that. That's your life. Create
Right.
something that is unique to yourself. Exactly.
Correct. Lovely it is. Man, I'm constantly thinking of, how can we, okay, there is a line which I wrote, which I think I did not share with you. Rearrange energies for personal profit. Okay. Rearrange energies for personal profit. Why? Because if it is not for your personal profit, you will not have your ownership with those assets, and you cannot then do charity.
Exactly.
You can't, if you don't have, you can't give. If you don't have happiness, you can't give happiness. You don't have money, you can't give money.
No,
yeah, right.
It's
okay to give if you don't have, but it's going to have a dramatic effect on the engine of the body.
You cannot.
People will retaliate. I mean, this guy is only doing charity without having any and all these things.
You cannot serve others from an empty cup. It's to sum it up.
Absolutely correct.
It's like that. Yeah.
Right.
So great, Azad. It's been nice talking to you on one more session, and looking forward to having these idiotic conversations again. And on a lighter note, it feels nice, when somebody calls me a wise mind. I don't get to hear too much of that, but it's always nice to have somebody calling me a wise mind. So thank you very much for that, and I hope I'm able to live up to that title of a wise mind.
Right. See, this is like I always put myself that even if I'm a dinosaur in my own space and sphere in life, I am an ant to everybody else. That's how I treat myself.
Perfect.
I can be gigantic. I can be enormous. I can be huge, monster. Like yesterday, I was watching a video of this what is this guy's name in Mahabharata? There was a role who had demonic and godly powers. Not Kumbhakar, and this guy was I think who was this guy who had megalithic, huge size, son of Bhim.
Okay, Ghatotkacha.
Yeah. So see, Ghatotkacha is very under-talked, underrated. Why? Because he had both the powers, and then somewhere we lost talking about him. Okay. So he can be huge, but even he's an ant in front of Lord Krishna. Or when it comes to the intent of doing something great, he puts himself in this mode.
Yes.
Why? He had all the powers to just vanish from different places, shower fire arrows and water everywhere, and confuse the enemy, and be totally demonic, appear anywhere, disappear from anywhere, do all the mayas. We call it mystical powers he had. Phenomenal character, huge size, very, very fierce, very ruthless. But he keeps himself so low. Being a dinosaur, he keeps himself an ant. So like when the deed comes, I'm no one and nothing. In the cosmos of time, I'm no one and nothing. So I think both things are very important. To be of that huge, mountainous courage and attitude and bravery, at the same time being anybody can crush you. Being such an ant, open to everything. That I'm nothing in everything. So I truly learned a lot from this guy.
There is a time to be a giant and there is a time to be an ant. Recognize and be the appropriate thing at the appropriate time. I think that's what, if you keep being a giant every time, or if you keep being an ant every time, you're finished. So I think, yes, that's what we spoke about, open mind and adaptability.
Superb.
So thank you very much, Azad. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And I hope our viewers, they do get benefited from this. So thank you very much. So
yes,
the two idiots,
thank you very much.
The two idiots signing out from now, and see you all again. Thank you.